youtube.com/openupyourmind101.
We can't do it like we did it in the 60s and I was a Black Panther and all that kind of stuff. We can't do that anymore. That's not going to work. Whatever you have, you got to protect. If you don't protect it, they're going to take it. So coming out with culture, coming out with your music, coming out with your hairstyles don't mean a damn thing if you don't protect it. We have to be more military conscious. You can't run a military unless you can attack your enemies. If we don't have the ability to attack your enemies, then you don't have a culture anymore. Because culture is defined differently here in the 21st century than it was in the 15th century during Egypt and all that stuff. You got to be able to attack your enemy to protect your culture. If you can't do that, you don't have a culture. The Europeans don't play it no other way. That's what you have to have. You have to have what they call spies. The police department call them snitches. Without the Uncle Toms, we can't run this thing. We need some Uncle Toms. We need some people that we can use to further our culture, but we get rid of our Uncle Tom. Say, oh, he ain't conscious, he ain't that. They don't deal. No, you need that Negro. You need these spies. You need a Negro. Don't let Oprah have all the Negroes. Get some of your own so we can use them so we can manipulate ourselves out of the situation. It gets a little more involved, but all I'm trying to say is that the first thing you have to have, and no matter what you do, is a body. And the body has to be healthy. So we got to start with basics. The first thing you need to play this human game is a body, a human body, and that body has to be healthy. So we got to get away from our addiction to sugar, which is associated with love and affection, and the inability to get love or receive love causes us to eat sugar. We don't know how to love ourselves, love our culture, love each other, so eat sugar. So we got to deal with these emotions that are causing us to go down the wrong path, snort cocaine, masturbate. All these things we're doing is because we're emotionally confused. And that's our biggest problem. We have the highest amount of mental illness of any race in America. Teenagers, black teenagers, commit more suicide than any race in America. We have the most premature births of any race in America, because we're not taking care of our temple, our body, and getting away from the junk food, the salt, the sodium chloride, which is not a food, it's a poison. More table salt is a poison. We got to get away from white sugar, which is a drug. If it can destroy your teeth, it damn sure destroy your brain. You got to get away from these things and go back to the way food has been presented to us by God, not presented to us by McDonald's, a clown. We're a little too late in the game for all of this sort of thing. But a lot of people are just scared to be free. What I'm going to do? I can't work for white people. What I'm going to do? I'm scared. I mean, we are addicted to white people. That's our big problem. We're addicted to sugar and we're addicted to white people. What I'm going to do without the white man's Grammy? What I'm going to do without the white man's Oscar? What I'm going to do? You're going to be free. That's what you're going to do. That's the only thing to do.
You touched on fear. I want to quickly jump on that. I want to talk about what they're doing with these animals before they kill them in these slaughterhouses that are helping to induce fear when we consume them. And also, outside of that, I still want to talk about why do our people exhibit the most amount of fear?
Out of the catechisms of things you recite every morning, every afternoon, and every evening before you go to bed to the slave master. You stand up and say, yeah, master, you can save me. Yeah, master, I fear you. Yeah, master. And those are called catechisms, things that you socially engineer, as we say today, but they call it seasoning back in that day. These are things that the slave would repeat over and over and over again until it got hardwired in their brain. So we're still under that same kind of orientation. We fear our slave master, then we go to church and we fear God. We're always wrapped in fear. We fear we may catch AIDS. We fear we may not have enough money to get the size rims we want. We fear we don't have enough grills in my mouth. We fear I don't have a ring in my vagina or a ring in my behind or the right color dildo. We're always in fear. Fear I might lose my relationship. Fear I may get a divorce. Fear my children may... We live in fear. And that's what we call in physiology a sympathetic nervous system response, which reduces your ability to think. All we want to do is keep you in fear to reduce your ability to think, because that's what happens when you fire up the sympathetic nervous system, which is related to fear. That's basic physiology. Keep them in a state of fear. They will not be able to expand their thoughts and think about freedom at all.
And what are some of the ways to reverse that?
The ways to reverse that is, first of all, understand that everybody can't be saved. Don't even go there. Everybody can't be saved. Once you get that in your mind, that includes your mother, father, sister, and brother. All of us can't be saved. That's the first thing you have to come to grips with. And you may not be one of those. You may be one of those people that can't be saved because you're too Negro to get away from what's going on. So you may be one of those people. So what we're trying to do with fear is to understand that everything has a path. If I want to drive my car from New York to Florida, there's a route I take. There's signs I have to follow. So we have to know the signs and the route that leads us to fear. And we don't know the signs and we don't know the route that leads us to fear, so therefore we don't know how to travel away from fear. That's the first thing we have to know. And that requires a little bit of skill there to understand the triggers cause fear. To understand that by me throwing the latest iPod and I don't have it, that means I'm fearful that I may not be accepted. I may not be normal. Because to have the latest gadget means I'm normal. I have a value, that sort of thing. So fear drives the computer industry. Fear drives PlayStation 3. It's still fear that we don't have a value. We're looking for a value from white people. We're back to the same catechism. We got to look for a value within ourselves, not from someone else. So we look outside of ourselves to validate ourselves. And that's the wrong way to look. You got to look inside yourself. The God in you validates you. Nothing outside of you will do that. But we've been taught to look outside. What can I do to get rid of fear? What can I do to get rid of a headache? No, you got to go inside yourself. Meditate the self of you. Be a witness to your own existence. Be a witness to the God in you. Don't let someone else say you're saved by Jesus, or saved by God, saved by Muhammad, saved by Moses. Damn it, save yourself. We're looking for the great white hope.
Yep. Because in many of our minds, he is embossed as the only savior. Because once we accepted the concept of a Caucasian God, then it was over from there. We basically downloaded a program that has many viruses in it. And it's basically poison, our system. Like when the computers crash. So, like you said, we have a manufactured fear for the white man, and we never had that in our history. Like we never were affected like that in our whole millennia of history. Recently, this is what has taken place.
Back to colonialism, back to slavery. We suffer from post-traumatic slavery trauma, which we have never been treated for. And added to that, the Caucasians suffer from post-traumatic cave trauma, which they have never been treated for. So there's two sick people trying to get along together, and that's not going to happen. The Europeans have cave trauma, we have slave trauma. And trying to put us together in harmony is not going to happen. It's just the dimensions to the problem. The dimensions to the problem is we need engineers, we need social workers, we need school teachers, we need everyone to be on a culture agenda. It's not just the people in health food. We need the other folks to be on this culture agenda, and then we can do something. But don't try to be the engineer. Don't try to be the teacher when you're not that. If you're a dancer, make it more cultural. Don't just be moving your hips, having a dry sexual intercourse, pumping at the air like some damn freak. Your movement should mean something. You got to make your dancing cultural. You got to Africanize it and stop dancing like a breeding slave. We got to do it all thorough. All art forms, all science forms, all liberal forms have to be Africanized for us to move forward as a people. The diet is the first thing, because without a body, you're not in the human game.
YouTube.com/openupyourmind101